Hey, and welcome to another episode of Motors and Meats. In today's episode, we're going to be addressing a clunking sound that I've been getting from underneath the Cayenne. Something to do with the drive line. I'm pretty sure that it's the axle that goes from the transfer case up to the front differential. There's a lot of grease that's slung out around where that bearing is, where it attaches to the transfer case. And I had it on the lift the other day having the exhaust done on this thing, which turned out great, by the way. And I was able to go underneath the Cayenne and actually grab it and shake it, and while it was lifted in the air like that, it was shaking a lot. So I've got a part in from eBay that I ordered. It's a remanufactured or rebuilt original Porsche part, and that should solve the problem. But let me see if I can clip this GoPro underneath the Cayenne somehow and show you what's happening while it's driving. Here you can see the grease that's come out, and it's slung out all along the top of the chassis and up over here onto this pipe, exhaust pipe, and up above there as well. And it's all coming out of the point where that axle comes out of the transfer case. So the clunk usually happens right about 15 miles an hour. Hopefully I've got this video synced up with the one underneath the car, and let's see if we can see anything happening. Actually had a few clunks there, one about 5 or 6 miles an hour, one about 10 or 12. We'll go back towards the house. Let's see if we can get it to do again. I'm gonna try it a few times. There, big clump that time. Hopefully that picked up whatever the issue was. Heading back to the house now, let's take a look at the video and see if we can tell what's happening. There's a couple of points where I'm hearing it. I'm not sure I can see it on this little tiny screen, but when I first start going, click, click. Hopefully that showed well enough what is actually going on there, where that bearing is given out, and basically as it starts to spin, it starts to shake, and then once it clinks against the side of the boundary of where it can go, I don't know if that makes any sense or not, it rattles and makes a clunk sound that can be felt and heard inside the car. So let's look at the new part and see how it compares to the old part. It's kind of the sound we were getting before. So yeah, you can see this has a lot of nice resistance to it. Both ends do. And I think that that's what our issue is right inside here. Whatever is supposed to be holding that in a nice, tight, but flexible condition has given out, and this piece right here is able to flop around inside of this cylinder here. So it's banging from here against that, and then once you get up to highway speeds, it's basically out of balance, so I get a vibration above 80 miles an hour. So I guess next thing is we need to see what all has to come off to be able to access this. Yes, we can see one end of it, but I think the trays underneath have to come out so we can get to the other end where it attaches to the front differential. So underneath here we've got to get off this belly pan and this front sort of skid plate piece that goes all the way up to the front, and the differential is actually right about here. So let's get those pieces off and then we'll see about it. It looks like it's just some 10 or 12, I don't know, millimeter bolts that that hold these on. And then back here in this part you've got this weird hanging clip thing, and don't touch the exhaust because that's hot. All right, we're fully upside down here. You can see I left this front piece on because we didn't need to take it off. Here's your diff, and if you follow along back to here, you can see the other end of that cardan shaft or drive shaft. And it actually looks like both ends of this thing are pretty greasy all around it, so probably both ends of this thing have failed. Let's go ahead and see if we can take it off. It looks pretty simple, probably just some Torx bit bolts that hold that in on both ends, and then it should just drop out. I don't think there's anything else that we have to get out of the way to be able to get it out of there. I was wrong, that's actually a size M12 triple square that we need to get these out. I've decided to go ahead and remove this support right here, and this is what holds up the tray, the plastic trays underneath here. There's one 10mm bolt right here, and then there's one right here where the ratchet is, and then one more on the opposite side over here. We don't really need that there, and it's just slightly in the way of getting to the bolts that hold this end of the cardan shaft on. This is definitely one of the greasiest, nastiest jobs. With that thing failed, there is just grease out of those bearings just flung all over everything, and I've scrubbed up several times. I've already ruined this shirt, but aside from the greasiness, I've reached a point where I can't really get to the bolts that are on the other side, the top side of the shaft, so I've got to figure out how to get that shaft to turn. I am on the ramps, and that's going to complicate things if it involves backing up, but I did notice in the videos that the shaft turns a lot compared to how much the wheels turn, so maybe I can inch back or forward on the ramps here. I do have a little bit of a platform, maybe a foot, where I could, you know, move forward a few inches or backwards and be able to reach those. I almost forgot something really important. Back whenever I broke one of the front axles, whenever I was off-roading in a place that I probably should not have been by myself without spare parts and tools and recovery gear, I learned that putting it in park doesn't put the thing in park. So be sure and chalk the wheels, because this cardan shaft, this drive shaft being disconnected, is probably going to have the exact same effect as having a front broken axle, as in you've got it in park but it still allows the car to roll. So chalk this thing, okay? I got it to roll back down one of the steps on my ramps, and that looks like it put it just within reach of those last two on this one and the last three on that one. So that looks like it's just right. I do have the wheels chalked firmly, so it won't be rolling anywhere. And I'm a fraidy cat, so I'm gonna lay with my legs out of the way of the wheels just in case. All right, I got it loose. It took this 4-pound hammer and this crowbar, and basically I put pressure against that, pushing back that way, and it would recess back in as far as it could go in its normal range of flexibility. I held it there and then smacked the bottom of the crowbar with the hammer, and that knocked it loose. So the shaft is now loose from where it's supposed to be, at least on this end, and I think the other end ought to come loose, you know, just because that one's loose. I'll mess with it further and let you know what comes up next. So there's a couple more things that have to come off and able to get that drive shaft out, and I still haven't gotten it loose from where it comes out of the transfer case. So first thing we need to do is jack up the transmission, the actual transfer case. I've got a couple blocks of wood and a transmission jack holding that up. Next, we're going to take loose these two bolts that hold on the transmission to the transmission mount, which is inside of this cross piece. After that, we're going to take loose the bolts that hold this on to the catalytic converter, and then we're going to take loose these 4 enormous bolts that hold on this whole cross piece. Then we'll have access to get the shaft out and hopefully get it loose from that end as well. I know it's got to come out to be able to get out. There's no way I can see to get this drive shaft out of here without that cross piece coming out. So I got that piece out. See where it bolted up there to the transmission with those 2 bolts. And over here on that side, along with the exhaust hangers, the little rubber pieces really just kind of hang in place. That's really interesting how that works with those brackets. But anyway, so you take both sides of the exhaust hangers off, and now we have clear access to the cardan shaft, which is still only loose at this end and still really stuck on that end. So I'll let you know what I come up with to get that side off. I'm getting annoyed. I've tried a lot of different things and that stupid thing still will not come loose. So I'm about to get the come along and see if I can't use that to somehow ratchet that sucker off of there. I don't foresee any more issues after putting all of that stuff back together. All we have left to do is to torque down those last, I think, 3 bolts that hold on the cardan shaft, and then put the plastic back under. So that is it. If you guys have any comments, tips, suggestions on how to do it better, definitely put it in the comments. And if there's a lot of good things that show up in the comments, I'll summarize them and pin it so that the next person watching this will benefit from your comments. So thanks again. Thanks so much for watching, and subscribe if you haven't. See you next time.